How's it going, everyone? This is Rosalind, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest trial, the Malboro Reborn. And this is the party I settled on after much trial and error, struggling, and quite a bit of help from my stream. So, let's take a look at it. I've opted to go with a magic draw attacks tank and a AoE physical cover tank. You can do the opposite. But this is what ended up working out for me. This is how I have my Charlotte set up. The main important things, besides the 100% draw attacks with this, is you want to have at least 150% fire, ice, wind, and if you can, earth as well. If you can get those up, then she'll only take non-elemental magic damage. But get those as high as you can possibly get them to be safe. And then obviously you want some other stats as well, like spirit and HP. Her main deal is going to be draw attacking magic, the single target magic, and keeping up like buffs such as buffs from Lakshmi, stop protection, charm protection, and the magic reduction buff. For my tank, I went with a dodge Galif. I also have him equipped a safety bit. It's not necessary to have safety bit, but I had the free slot, so I went ahead and used it anyways. He has 100% draw attack, or 100% dodge, and for the majority of the fight, he's primarily going to be keeping up AoE provoke, buffing the party with his limit break when applicable, and also if for whatever reason I need to, like say there are times throughout the fight that the boss will target a player, or target one of your characters, and on the following turn after this specific ability, it will cast instant death on that player. You can actually dispel that player and they will not die from instant death. So he is also going to be doing that for me when possible. The main attacker I chose was Chair Rain. This is how I have him set up. I ended up giving him Sweet Duduka's Trust Mastery for a little bit more survivability, and give him a bunch of limit break, damage increasing effects, as well as Plant Killer. You can use other attackers, just keep in mind that the magic does not really work all that well against the boss, so physical is really preferred. However, if you do not have high spirit, you absolutely need to have guts on whatever character you're using, and even then your attackers are probably still going to die multiple times throughout the fight. I'll get more into that when we get into the actual encounter though. For my healer, I actually ended up using Aerith. I don't tend to use her, but ended up working out in this fight. She basically keeps up stat break protection, which is very important. And she's also can apply re-raise, just standard damage mitigation whenever Galif can't do that. AoE re-raise, healing, pretty much all that. If your units can survive fairly well, then I actually recommend bringing somebody like Folka, or even better, if you have her, CG Lina, or not CG Lina, Warrior of Light Lina is probably the best unit for this, but I unfortunately don't have her, so I had to make do with what I had. And finally, I have Finalid. This is how I have her set up. I ended up giving her Soul of Samantha as a sort of precautionary measure because I have her equipped with Phoenix, so just in case I needed to dual cast Raise with her. I didn't end up needing it, but that's what that's there for. Everything else is just to boost her stats, give her some limit break, gauge gain and whatnot. Obviously her main thing is going to be breaking and healing, off healing when necessary. And that's it for the party. I will get more into the fight when we get there. Alright, so let's talk about this fight. So, first of all, there are a number of strategies you can use to tackle this encounter. Like I said at the beginning when I was explaining my party, I went with a draw attacks magic tank and a AoE cover physical tank. However, the opposite is possible, to use a AoE cover magic tank and a draw attacks physical tank. I've seen numerous kills doing it this way, however when I tried it, it didn't work out for me, so test which way works for you and go either way. I will say that the majority of the kills I've seen that have used that particular strategy, the AoE magic and the physical draw attacks, have been using like Yuffie or Bart in order to put up AoE Mirage and go for speed kills. pretty much killing the boss, the entire encounter in 4 turns, each boss in 2 turns. But both strategies are viable. This is just what worked out for me. There also is another strategy you can use if you want to, that uses Sedona and Vesuvia and hide strategies, by having you hide on specific turns and then have other characters purposely get petrified, and then curing them and dealing damage for 1 turn and repeating this process. There's a video of a guy doing this. He almost actually gets the first encounter done in, I believe, 24 turns, and he almost gets the other one done in 25 turns, but he just barely misses it. So this is a strategy, but you need to have the proper units for it, as well as some specific gear setups, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So for this fight, the bosses, just in general, they both do a ton of single target magic that hits for fire, ice, earth, and wind. There's also some non-elemental magic, AoE magic, that you're going to be taking as well. And there's going to be single target, it's single target physical attacks, that's like base attack, as well as AoE physical attacks. So you need to be able to deal with all this, you need to be able to survive all of this, and in general this really isn't all that bad. Your DPS units may die to the AoE magic attack, or survive with guts, but the real killer in this fight is a dot that the boss places on your units, and it places it as a preemptive attack, and then every few turns after that. This dot is nasty. It hits incredibly hard, especially the preemptive one, because it's applied before the boss has been broken at all. So it's a full power dot, and then even when it's not full power and you've broken the boss and everything, it still hits for a truckload of damage. And it's going to be probably the main killer for the majority of people who take on this encounter, and figuring out how to deal with it is going to be your main priority. Other than that, the whole strategy is to, keep up AoE cover, make sure you're keeping up, magic, damage reduction, if you're not using a dodge tank, physical damage reduction, and just standard damage mitigation. Also very important is keeping up all stats, break protection, essentially. The boss, when it uses its AoE magic attack, it also comes with a 100% reduction in all of your stats. So if you're not protected against this buff, or this debuff, you're going to have a real bad time. What else is there to take into account? You might want to have re-raise. You're going to be losing units a lot. You want to keep the boss debuffed as much as possible. You don't need to dispel the boss at all. There's at no point in time does the boss itself need to be dispelled, so you really don't need to worry about that. And you want to have protection against as many stats elements as possible. Bad Breath, which is cast, I believe, starting on turn, I want to say it's turn 3, and then every 2 turns thereafter, or it's turn 5 and every 2 turns thereafter. I forget, it's either 3 or 5, but after that it's every 2 turns thereafter that Bad Breath is cast. And this will apply all status ailments, has a chance to apply all status ailments to you, with the exception of Zombie. So you want to have protection against all that. You also need to have protection against Stop and Charm. The first boss will only cast Stop, and the Stop is whenever the boss targets a unit in order to be instant death on the following turn, it'll apply Stop to them. It'll also put a Reflect on that unit. So be warned, if a unit gets targeted for instant death and you want to save it, if you cast Reflect on that unit without dispelling it, it'll put AoE re-raise on the boss. So watch out for that. The second encounter will cast a Stop on multiple units and Charm on multiple units, I believe starting from turn 2. It's either turn 2 or turn 3. It's very quickly into the fight, and then it's every few turns after that. So just be careful, make sure you have some ways to stop it. I used Lakshmi. It didn't really keep up because I was taking so much damage. This is one part where if you could survive, being able to use Folka, or if you have her, being able to use Lina would come in very, very handy. But you want to make sure you have that sort of protection up. Other than that, it's just trying to kill the boss without dying. Really, the boss is incredibly weak in terms of how much damage it takes. With Rain, whenever you use like Chair Rain and you get his buffs up and use his Limit Break, 2 properly geared reins can take off like 50 to 60% of his HP, no problem. So it's really just making sure you survive for the few turns necessary in order to kill the boss. Either way, if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to see me do these encounters live on Twitch, feel free to come over to my Twitch channel and leave me a follow and get notifications for whenever I go live. You can see when I'm playing FFBE, and hope to see you there.